Hi, hello everyone. Today I will be covering how to turn your 125 Hz QMK keyboard into a 1000 Hz polling keyboard. And if you haven't watched Tokaku's video on 1000 Hz polling, go give it a watch because it's a really good video and it explains how to it explains what 1000 Hz polling is. And so for those of you guys who didn't watch the video, if you have a 1000 Hz polling keyboard, what it will look like is if you play a 250 BPM map, it will have your hits all like stacked on top of each other. And so as you can see, all the hits are stacked on top of each other, and they only stack on specific intervals, and these are 8 millisecond intervals. And because a 125 Hz keyboard sends polls at sends polls at 8 milliseconds. So that means every time you hit a key, it's either going to show up 0 milliseconds late or 8 milliseconds late. But with a 1000 Hz keyboard, it sends your polls every 1 millisecond, and so every key press is sent either 0 milliseconds late or 1 millisecond late. And so what you want to do is you want to first go to the QMK MSYS website, and this works for only QMK boards or QMK configurable PCBs. And what you want to do is you want to download the latest version by going to the GitHub page, clicking this, and after you've downloaded it and run the installer, you should have a QMK MSYS. So you want to open the QMK MSYS, and what we want to do is we want to run the QMK setup. So we type in QMK setup. And your setup will look differently because I've already set up the QMK firmware, but just answer yes for all the boxes. And after we've set up the QMK firmware, we want to navigate to the C drive, users, your username, and then your QMK firmware. So that will be right here. And so after that, what we want to do is we want to find our keyboard. So we go to keyboards. Since my keyboard is the Tofu 65, I know that my keyboard is made by KBD fans, so we type in KBD fans, and my keyboard is the KBD 67 Rev 2. However, some Tofus could have the Mark II RGB or the Mark II soldered. You have to check your keyboard, check your keyboard's PCB to find out. So this is my keyboard, and what we want to do now is to set up the default keyboard. So we type in QMK setup user.keyboard equals and then your keyboard. So KBD fans / and this info was found right here, this path. Actually it's a /, and then you want to type KBD 67 / and then rev 2. We hit enter. And now we have the keyboard setup. Now we have to set up our user. So we type QMK setup user.keymap equals, and then traditionally you want to use your GitHub username, but in this case I will be using osu, and you can use any name you want. This will just be the folder that your keymap is stored in. So if we make a osu keymap, now what we want to do is we want to now type in QMK new-keymap. So now we have made a new keymap under KBD fans rev 2 osu. And so let's see, we go to the keymaps folder in the rev 2 and we see that the osu has been created. And now what we want to do is we want to go to the config file, and we want to type in hashtag, let's see what we type in, hashtag define USB polling at 1 millisecond. So type this in, and then if you want to send more than 1 key per scan, you want to also put a hashtag define QMK keys per scan to 4. Now what we want to do is we want to save the file. And for the keymap, you can edit your keymap by editing these key codes, and you can find all the key codes on the QMK website. And so these are all the key codes that they have, and you just paste that in. If you want a different layout, there are different layouts. If you go to the keymaps folder, see they have ANSI blocker split backspace, split space, and there's a default. If we go to the default and we go to the config, not the config, the keymap, we see that there's an ANSI layout, and that's the default that they use. So if you don't specify a layout, it will be ANSI. But for me, my layout is the split backspace layout, and so if we go to my folder, we see that I have layout all, which means I have all the keys, and then I can put a split backspace. And so traditionally, if you don't want to mess around with the keymap file, you can just use the default keymaps, or you can use one of the user created keymaps, which is either here, these are all user created keymaps except for like ANSI blocker and like default and ISO. And my keymap won't be there because I didn't push it to the QMK GitHub page. And so I will be loading my keymap into the OSU keymaps. So let's see, which one? I just closed it. So keymap. Okay, so I have this keymap, and then I do Control C, and we want to paste it into the OSU keymaps, which is the one we will be changing. So we want to go to keymaps, and then highlight all of it all the way until you see like the bracket and the semicolon. Then you want to delete that and paste the keymap that you want. And so this is my keymap that I have set up, and we save it, Control S. And now what we do is we want to type in QMK compile, and now it is compiling the keymap. And this might take a while. So while it's compiling, you want to make sure you know where the reset button is. For my keyboard, the reset button is FN plus escape, which resets the keyboard and puts it into like flashing mode. And if you can't find the reset button, it should be different for the different PCBs. You can set it in the keymaps, so the next time you can remember where the reset button is. And on the back of every PCB, there should be a button that says reset, and if you just use a paperclip to poke the button, it will reset the keyboard. And so you want to reset the keyboard while it's flashing, but right now it's compiling. Okay, so now it has finished compiling. Now we want to type in QMK flash. And then we want to press a reset key, which is FN escape for me. And your keyboard will disconnect, so you won't have access to your keyboard. And we wait for the QMK MSYS to flash the keyboard. So now it connected again, and my keyboard has been flashed. See, now I can type, and if we go back into OSU, we can see now our keyboard should be pulling at 1000 Hertz. So let's retry the map. And now you can see that the hits aren't stacked on top of each other, because now the keyboard's pulling every 1 millisecond. And that is all for the video. If you want to learn more about the QMK firmware, you can just read the documentation. I created this video because I didn't see anyone who created a video just to change the polling rate and the number of keystrokes sent per cycle. And I probably won't be making any content like this in the future. This was just to help everyone who wanted to get their custom mechanical keyboard up to 1000 hertz polling. And thank you all for watching. If you like the video, I guess hit the like. If you dislike it, just dislike the video. And yeah, have a good day.